So we recently had a look at some of the best trail forks on the market. But what if you're looking for something with a bit less travel? Maybe cross-country racing is your thing, or you just like putting the miles in on all-day epics. Sometimes 150 or 160 mil of travel is just a bit too much. So what we're going to look at today are some of the best 100 mil travel forks on the market. So first up, we've got the Fox 32, or to give it its full name, this is the Fox 32 Stepcast Float Factory Fit for Cobalt Edition. A bit of a mouthful, but it's worth it for the top of the range fork that we have here. So this is the Stepcast version of the Fox 32. It is literally the lightest fork that Fox produce at the moment, and there's a few features about it to make it as light as possible. Obviously, the first thing is the Stepcast molding. So to make it as light as possible, what Fox have done is, rather than using the lightest of materials, they've changed the design. They've made it much narrower than a standard suspension fork, and they've done that by cutting out part of the lower legs. So you can see here on this fork, we've got two little steps, hence the Stepcast name, that allows the fork to run full clearance for a boost wheel, but to keep everything as nice and neat as possible to keep that weight down. It also still features the 32mm stanchions, so keeping the weight down on there, and everything else is hollowed out. So if you look down the end of the fork here, you can see that we've effectively got two very, very hollow sections here. There's very little going on in this lower part of the leg apart from allowing the adjustment for the rebounds, and that helps to reduce the weight even lower on here. So this is the factory version. The factory version of Fox forks are their top-end forks. The things that make it stand out in terms of it being the factory versions, first of all, the most obvious, the Kashima coating on the stanchions. So that's this lovely gold finish on here, which allows the performance to be a lot smoother on here. All of the new Fox fork range comes with the new Evil extra volume air chambers. So what this actually does is this increases the negative chamber, which allows the fork to behave in a similar way to the Fox Evol rear shocks and gives it a lot more small bump sensitivity. The Fit for damper system on the factory forks is the top-end compression damping controls. This is a closed cartridge system, so effectively in here we have everything contained. So if you ever need to get anything replaced, it's a question of just taking things out and then sort of swapping it over. Obviously your Fox dealers will be able to sort that out for you. There are three main settings on here, so controlled by this little blue lever. We have basically the open setting, which is full travel on here. We've got a medium setting, which gives it a firmer sort of compression damping, and then firm. So effectively acting a bit like a lockout. On a cross-country fork, this is something that's obviously going to be used a bit more than you might have on a longer travel fork. But the other thing with the factory version, so the Fit for on here, is you also then have another little dial on the top. This gives you control over the compression damping during that open phase. So whereas on a lower fork you'd only have that three settings, here we've got 22 clicks to adjust just how that fork performs in that open setting. So if you're a racer that likes it to be a really, really firm platform and just working on the big hits, you can adjust this. So effectively, you can have almost a lockout going on in this position, so you don't even have to worry about using the lever on here. If you want to actually run it as a very, very active, very smooth and supple fork, well, yes, you can do that as well. So you just can tune out that damping compression quite easily on there. So it gives you a bit more control, gives you a bit more sort of tuning possibilities on this fork. You can also use volume spacers. It comes with a couple of volume spacers as well to control that air chamber. So there's plenty of ways for you to fiddle and play around with this fork. Available currently in only 100 mil travel. The other thing as well that you have on here is there are two different widths. We've got the standard 100 mil and then the boost version. This top end factory version only then comes with a bolt through axle. So it's the Cobalt bolt through axle to reduce weight down as much as possible on here. The other good news as well is if you are somebody that runs 27.5-inch wheels, you can run this fork as well. They do a 27.5-inch wheel version as well as the standard 29 that you would find most people on cross-country bikes would probably be running. If you're also somebody that doesn't like to play around too much or you like things to be sort of done for you, The good thing is as well, there's now a new little table on the back which allows for simple setup of the fork. So you can just run the factory requirement settings for the air pressure and also the rebound settings on here. The other thing that obviously is pretty important on this fork is it's bright orange. There are 3 different colour options. It used to be that the orange was the most sought after colour, so there was a while when it was only available for Fox sponsored athletes. Now people like myself can get a hold of a pair of forks in this orange athlete only colour. They also do the black, and now they're doing a white version as well. So you've got a few different options to go for with the Fox. Price-wise, in the UK, it's retailing for £949. There are different options as well. You can get a version with a remote lockout for proper sort of cross-country racers. And obviously they do the standard 32 as well, which is a bit more robust. So now we're going to move on and have a look at RockShox version. So for most mountain bikers, the SID has been around a long time. It's a name that's been recognised and renowned for RockShox for decades almost now. It used to be the bright blue fork, and it used to also have a bit of a reputation as a bit of a noodle. So it used to run 28mm stanchions and everything was as light as physically possible. Things have changed though. The SID has changed. It is still the lightweight cross-country race fork it once was, but now there's a bit more performance about it. So RockShox have taken things away from going for the lightest possible and have now made things a bit more usable, a bit stiffer, a bit more practical. This is the World Cup version, so rather than Fox having like a real massive mouthful of name, this is literally called the SID World Cup. And there's a few standout features about this particular fork as well that we're going to go through. Number 1, this SID comes with carbon. The whole upper part of this fork is carbon fibre. So we've got a combined steerer and crown out of that black magic material. That keeps weight down as much as possible and keeps stiffness levels up. RockShox have pared the SID down as much as possible without losing any performance. So we've got a bit of extra machining around the dropouts. The power bulge, so where the bushings are, where the stanchion runs into the lower leg, that's a bit more obvious on here as well. And the brace is actually sort of a much, much thinner brace than it used to be. Still machined out at the back. And yes, overall, a very, very light unit on here. So some of the other features we've got, this now comes with the Charger 2 damper. So the same as we talked about when we talked about the Pike, that's the longer travel fork on here. This is RockShox's best compression damping system. This has only got 2 positions on the main lever. We've got an open, so an unlocked, and then we've got a locked position. So for racers, it's actually probably a little bit easier to use on here. But the good news is as well, if you want it to be even simpler, so you don't even have to want to turn down and actually use that lockout lever, we've got adjustment on that compression setting. So we can adjust how much compression damping there is on that open setting. So again, if you're a racer and likes it to be nice and firm, you can dial that in so you can have it in that one position all the way through that race experience. If you're somebody that likes just want to have a real super light fork, but actually wants it to work like a proper fork, then you can have it so it's nice and open and nice and active on here. So the new SID has got the new dig valve technology. So this is a redesign of the rebound piston that allows the oil to flow around the fork a little bit better, makes it smoother travel on here. And also there's something called rapid recovery. So this is the way that the fork can cycle through the travel. So when you're doing multiple hits, what you really want is you want the fork to actually sort of come back to that sort of full extension as quick as possible without it being like a pogo stick, to allow it to actually then go through that travel again and again and again. And that rapid recovery allows that to happen and allows the fork to sit a little bit higher up in the travel as well. So in a bit more of a sweet spot for that low speed compression damping. So you get a bit more sort of sensitivity, a bit more supple sort of smoothness on here. Really, really important on a fork with only 100mm of travel. The SID is actually available in not only the 100mm, which is its optimized travel, but also in an 80mm version on here. There are gradings for all the sag for both those settings on the stanchion, on this lovely black murdered out stanchion, as they say. There's also a few different options. So we've got 27.5-inch wheel size, 29-inch wheel size, Both boost and non-boost are available. And just like the Fox fork, this comes with a bolt through axle. So this is the lightest possible version on here. The interesting thing about the SID as well is a few bike manufacturers now starting to play around with the offset of their forks to create different ride-in sort of positions. And the SID is available in 3 different offsets. So you can go for 42mm, 46mm or 51mm offset on here. So we can tune that around a little bit more. Just like the Fox fork, we've got a nice little table on the back here, so you can set this fork up quite easily on here. It also comes with volume spacers, so you can adjust things nice and easily. And like the Pike as well, one of the other real good things about this fork is if you do want to do a bit of fettling at home, this now uses the new sort of cassette tool fitting on here. So it's super easy to take things apart and to change things around without scratching things with big adjustable spanners and everything else on there. So that's another decent feature. The other thing that this obviously needs to come with, because it's a carbon fibre fork, it comes with a slightly different sort of compression nut. So rather than a star nut, you can't fit a normal star nut on here. So it comes with a handy little compression bolt, fits in, tightens up nicely there, which makes things super easy to set up this fork as well. Price-wise on the SID is exactly the same as the Fox at £949, so we've got a complete direct competition here on these 2 top-end forks. The only thing that's left to do really as a bit of a comparison is to weigh both of them as well, just to sort of see at the moment, without riding them, which one has the edge when it comes to overall lightweight. So first up on the scales, we've got the SID. This is the 29 boost version, as I said, with a full uncut steerer on here. And this comes in at 1,544 grams, so just over 1.5 kilos on here. So pretty damn lightweight on that. Putting the Fox on the scales, you can see there's a massive difference actually. Okay, I'm a bit surprised about this. So what we've got here is the Fox 32 Stepcast, with the uncut steerer as well in 29 and boost, exactly the same as the SID, actually weighs in at 1,397 grams. So that's over 150 grams difference. That's quite significant really. So if you are an out-and-out cross-country racer or you're trying to build the lightest bike, then it's pretty obvious that the Fox 32 is the way to go on here. But the real important thing is basically how they ride. So what we're now going to do is we're going to put these on the bikes and get some proper testing done on these so we can work out exactly which of these forks is the best on the market currently. So thanks for watching our latest unboxing. Don't forget to subscribe to keep up with our latest releases. And if there's any other products that you'd like to see us unbox or review in the future, don't forget to put it in the comment section below.